let me recommend some books for you this Valentine's Day. I have books for singles, I have books for people in situationships, I have books for people in relationships. I think whatever you look for, you might find here. So, let's get into it. The first book I want to talk about, and the one that made me think of this video all along, is in this celebration of love, I want to talk about the book Loveless. Loveless, it's written by Alice Oseman, who you might know as the writer of the very successful series that became a TV series on Netflix, Heartstopper. And if you liked Heartstopper with the themes of queer love and adolescence and coming of age and self-love and so on, you're gonna love Loveless. Loveless is a book that follows our main character, who is aromantic and asexual, and she doesn't know it in the beginning of the book, and she slowly comes to terms of what this means. This is a part of the queer community that is not so prominent in stories and movies, so I feel like this is such a relevant story to be read and told. The story is it's a coming of age, it's heartwarming, she tries to find her place in the world, and it's ultimately a book about self-love as well as the love you have for your friends, so platonic love. And if you itch for a little bit of romance, you get that as well, because in the book we have these two girls who are having a will they, won't they, banter type relationship, and I just have all the fuzzy feelings, so I highly recommend this book. I gave it a 4 out of 5 just because the writing style, being a young adult book, it's, from my point of view, a little bit weak. I think it's an important story. I would have loved it when I was 14, but now compared to other books I'm reading, the prose felt a little bit flat. But regardless, it was very enjoyable, and I've learned a lot. So the second book I want to talk about is Everything I Know About Love by Dolly Alderton, and this book is for the singles this year. This book is a memoir, but I would say it's more of a journal of Dolly Alderton's 20s, and I don't know if she goes into her 30s as well. And basically this book, I want to say this book is girl dinner if it was a book. I don't know, it has stories of girlhood, friendships, relationships, long-term relationships, when you're afraid of intimacy. You get little snippets all throughout the book about how she encountered love throughout her life. And I feel like this is your big sister or bigger cousin that you really love and you think she's so cool, telling you all the secrets that she lived through when she was 20 and 30 and giving it to you with a nice little bow. So I really think this is such a fun, entertaining, good book for singles this year. And if you're not single, of course, you can read it. And I think it prepares you for the dating stage and dating pool, especially in this modern era. So this is the book for you. So, in the same theme of being single and now in the messiness of dating, or like I would say traps you might fall into while you start dating in the beginning, I would say, despite this being a classic, this has stood the test of time. I have experienced this 10 years ago, people still experience it. This happens in memes all around the world, and the book is White Nights by Dostoevsky. White Nights, it was presented to me as a book of you don't know yearning until you read White Nights, but I'm here to present it in from a different light. I would say that White Nights speaks about when you try to date and you put all of your hopes into every potential relationship because you have been so sick and tired of being alone. So you're like, the next person I'm gonna meet, I'm gonna marry. It doesn't matter. And this is how this book feels. It speaks about friend zone, which unbelievable. The book felt so modern. It speaks about friend zone, which I thought it was something of the 2000s. It speaks about yearning and pining over someone, of being lonely, of wanting more, of wanting connection, of having to choose. So this book speaks about themes that you're gonna encounter very quickly when starting dating. And if you feel heartbroken and alone and exhausted, I think this book would feel like a very nice warm hug. The book follows our main character, who is very lonely, and he spends I think 4 or 5 nights roaming the streets at night. So this is the atmosphere of this book. Imagine streets at night, lampposts, speaking to someone that you love, making jokes, understanding each other, and trying to see where this relationship goes and pining after the person you talk to. So And for more, I think you should really read it. It's a really short book. It is very well written. It is very relatable, and you'll feel very, very seen. So this is my recommendation from White Nights. And on the theme of White Nights and loneliness and so on, I want to speak about All the Lovers in the Night. All the Lovers in the Night is a book that goes into themes of loneliness and existential dread. It is kind of White Nights, but when you're older and even more exhausted. So basically, All the Lovers in the Night follows our main character, who is a proofreader at a publishing house. And she works from home, she doesn't go out, she doesn't have friends, she's very shy, she hasn't worked on her social skills. So she lives a very, very lonely life where she basically goes through the motions of life without living. And I feel like this is a very slippery slope that people might wake up into one day, that they haven't actually lived, they just did what they had to do and move through life from one day to another, and then you wake up and realize you're 45. So I feel like this book, first of all, the prose is amazing, and she takes these moments of, I don't even know how to call it, from mundane moments and makes them magical, but also under the story you have this existential dread. I would say the feeling when you commute to work and the subway is full of very exhausted people, and you can see it on their face. Everyone is dreading going to work. Everyone is dreading. You can see they just have a moment of respiro before having to become an adult when they exit the subway. So the book felt a little bit like this, but it's not all bad, because she throughout the book she manages. There is character development, is all I'm gonna say without spoiling it. But yes, I highly recommend it, especially if you feel lost, exhausted, dreading life, or you feel like you haven't lived. This book will make you feel seen, but also give you, I think, a lifeline. So, this is too much of a recommendation. Okay, it's not gonna change your life, but yeah, this is what I would say about All the Lovers in the Night. And now let's move forward to the next stage. You started dating someone, you're in the moment of will they, won't they, and it's the dreaded situationship, the dreaded situationship. This is touched upon in the first book I recommended, Everything I Know About Love, but also I have this book that I absolutely adore, and I will take any moment to recommend it, and I just injected it here. It's called I'm a Fan. Sheena Patel, my life is yours. So in I'm a Fan, she speaks about, it's about a girl who is in love with a man that she's on again, off again together. It's a situationship, and that man gets with another girl. So basically, our main character is obsessed with the other woman, but they're not actually dating. So it just speaks about how insecure you feel in a situationship type relationship, how the obsession you have when you have a crush when you're really young, and it consumes all your time, and you just send that long vocal message to all of your friends, he looked at me. Okay, I said that like, as if I'm very young. Okay, you meet with your friends and you're like, my crush yesterday looked at me and looked down. What do you think this means? Let's debrief. And that obsession that you have when you're young becomes even stronger when sex is involved, when small relationships are involved, because you're like, why didn't he pick me? Why did he ghost? Where is he? Why not me? And a mix of self-worth with this obsession is what makes this book magical. And it also has some social commentary about content creation, because the other woman is a viral influencer, and she speaks about how basically this woman has her life freed for the public because she's an influencer, and how better she is from a societal standpoint, and also how insecure she is and jealous. This would work hand in hand with Jealousy from Olivia Rodrigo. I love this book. The cover matches because it's purple. I don't know, but I think it's pink. I don't own it, unfortunately. I've read it as an ebook. But this book was amazing. I highly recommend it to feel soothed in your insanity over the guy that won't talk to you back. So I either recommend Everything I Know About Love for a healthy perspective, or if you want to go down the insane route, read I'm a Fan. Finally, we move on to dating stage. So in the dating stage, I have the following recommendations. First of all is Call Me By Your Name. This is an amazing queer love story. It is set, I think everyone knows about this book, but basically it's about a boy that his parents open up their home to an exchange student, if I remember it correctly, and they fall in love, him and the male exchange student. and basically on the backdrop of this long Italian summer and the warmth and the smell of peaches, if you know, you know, they fall in love, and the pining, the yearning, the themes of queer relationships are very relevant, and the love between them, I don't know, I just loved it. It was so sensual, so passionate, so full of yearning. But the only thing I would say is that I know that queer people are kind of sick and tired of their romance stories being dramatic and having these themes. So if you want a happy-go-lucky rom-com for a gay love story, I do not have it for you, I'm sorry. I will read more and I might come back to you, but currently for this Valentine's Day, I would recommend this one. And the next book I want to recommend is 7 Days in June. So 7 Days in June, let me tell you, it's about two writers who realize when they meet again that they have been each other's muses all along. And if this is not recommending this book enough, I can also add this. Personally, I don't like rom-coms because people talk about rom-coms as mindless consumption, just happy stories to read at night to forget where you are and so on, just mindless consuming entertainment. So that made me not want to read it. But I have read this book because, come on, two writers that have been each other's muses all along, and basically our main character, the girl in this book, writes romance books, and the boy in this book, it's a Pulitzer-winning, Nobel-winning prize winner and so on, a winning writer. So basically, in the book, she says that she is so annoyed of people disrespecting her genre of writing and how important it is for women to be seen and for having happy moments in your life. And she spoke so beautifully about the romance genre that I fell in love with it. And immediately after, I read an Emily Henry book, and I think I'm a romance girly now. Indeed, usually they're not as deep, but I understand their place in literature now. So it's also a little bit of a love story for writing, for romance books, and yeah. The only thing I want to say is that I didn't like the ending of the book. It felt a little bit, the entire book feels a little bit Disney Channel-ish. Like everything gets fixed. It has a lot of slang that is specific to our day and age. I don't know how else to explain it, but I truly enjoyed it. So for a rom-com, taken in the genre of a rom-com, it was very good. So this is the one. And if you like this one, something very similar, it's Emily Henry's Beach Read, where she's a writer, he's a writer, they move close to each other, they mock each other's genres, they say that they're gonna write each other's genres so they can beat each other over this. And I feel like if you liked this one, you're gonna like that one, and if you like this one, you're gonna like that one, so they work hand in hand. If you want more, you have two options in one. See, I made you a promotion, 2 books in one. So for people that like romances where they get together and happy rom-com, these are my options for you this Valentine's Day. And lastly, as a prize for staying until the end of this video, I want to recommend my first 5-star read of this year, who is now a 6-star reading, and the book is Love in Color. Just the cover, come on! So Love in Color is a book about mythical tales from around the world retold in a modern perspective. Already insane. I have this challenge that you might know about, that I'm reading all books from all around the world for the experience of traveling around the world without moving my ass from the couch. And also I read about I read about food from different cultures, I read about I don't know, religion from other cultures, the way they think, the way they speak, philosophies. This has been the greatest challenge. I'm sorry, I speak about it all the time. So let's go back to Love in Color. And Love in Color, I want to say that I opened it up, I read the first page, and I said, you're coming home with me. You're coming home with me. So in the first page, it speaks about how important the romance genre is, and that love is something that pushes us forward. And do you know the quote that said, to be loved to the point of invention? And this is what pushes us as humans forward and helps us. Can you imagine how mundane life feels until you have a crush, until you love someone, those moments? So basically, in this book, not only does she speak about, she doesn't only, I can quote, these stories can teach us about ourselves and love itself. So indeed, it speaks about why we behave the way we behave in relationships, why we run away, why we're insecure, what does this mean about us, why we're afraid of intimacy. And basically it's an anthology of short stories, and she manages to, in one page, you get into the story, already know the characters, already know the plot, and you already care about the story. And then in 10 pages, she also fixes the conflict, gets a happy ending, usually a happy ending, and solves everything with a little bow. I read also the mythology behind it to understand how close it is to the first story. I just loved it, and she took elements of the culture and sprinkled them in, like casually when they talk, they eat their favorite food, which is also the national food from that country where the story takes place. She speaks about the name of the specific fabric and clothes from that country, and the mythological stories are not from very well-known goddesses like Athena that you already know so much about. They are small goddesses from African culture, and mostly African culture, but not only. I know that we have Scheherazade, which is Turkey or Iranian Persian stories. Additionally, you have Cupid and Psyche, which is the Greek mythology. And I don't know, I love the book. She is so funny. I am kicking my feet from every story. I just have this on my nightstand, and every time I go to bed, I read 1 or 2 stories, and I just have this fuzzy, fluffy feeling inside. And if I could underline everything in this book, I would. The quotes are amazing. The way she presents so many situations around love. I cannot sell this book better than this. I'm really trying. I cannot explain it. Please, if you take one book from this video, be it this. Love in Color. Amazing, amazing story. So yes, these were my recommendations. I hope I gave you what you needed this Valentine's Day. And if you need anything else, drop it in the comments, and I might find a book and the recommendations for you. And if you like this type, I can make other recommendations based on your comments. So have a happy Valentine's Day with your girls, with your family, with your friends, with your loved ones. Have a happy Valentine's Day.